statement, we can combine those statements for completing one specific task. That is called function. So why we need to use functions? There are two major reasons for using the function. There are two major reasons for using the functions. One is the reusability of the code, and second one is the reducing the number of lines of code. And third one is the syntax. Just we need to the function always start with the def keyword and followed by the function name. You can pass the arguments or parameter to that particular function, and the function definition end with the 1-2 colons. And we saw some of the real-time example as WhatsApp or cleaning a bowl, cleaning a kitchen, and driving a car. All this we saw the real-time example for those functions. These are the things we have discussed in the last class. Now I will continue with what are the topics remaining in the last class. Okay, this is the definition of the function def followed by the function name, def followed by the function name, and you can pass the arguments to that particular function, and the function definition always end with the colon symbol. And you need to not following the indentation properly, and if you come to this particular line, this is out of scope. Like out of scope means it is not part of this particular function. So whenever you are using the functions, whenever you are doing any program in Python, you must be careful with the indentation. Might be you saw in the last class, we created one simple program, but the program is not executing. It is showing some error. We don't know exactly what is the error. Finally, we get conclude that is the indentation problem. We remove all the spaces and we run successfully. Then it will get the output. Understanding, right? So there are two types of functions are there. One is built-in functions. Second one is the user-defined functions. Built-in functions means the definition of the built-in function is already defined in the compiler side, and the user-defined function means you need to write our own definition to those particular functions. Okay, arguments. You need to pass the value to this particular function name. Hello all is the value to this particular function. So these are the arguments we are passing to this particular function. And second one is the parameters. Parameter means this is a variable. We can call it as a parameter based on the value in this particular language. Like for example, the language, the value is replaced with English, then print the hello world. If the value of the language is apart from the English, anything, you can say it as a namaskaram. You got to know, right, what is the difference between parameters and arguments. We already discussed about these things in the last class. That's why I'm just giving the brief overview and just skipping the slide.
Increase your sound. Can you please increase your sound?
Now? Hello? Now it's fine? Hello? Now it is audible now? Hello?
Very low.
Hello? Now it is audible? Please respond. Those person who is asking about volume, right? Please respond. Are you able to hear now properly? Please respond. Are you able to hear now? Are you able to hear now? Are you able to hear now?
Sir, please play the music.
There is no music from my side. Might be some other person who opened that one, I think. Here, absolutely mute only. Just I am the person who is talking. There is no music from our side. Might be from some other side or some other college, I think. Here absolutely mute. I am the person who is going to talk. Now it is clear. Whatever the functions or whatever the things it is calling this particular function, it is going to pass this return value to that particular function, which is called this particular function. So if I return after completion of this particular function, greet function, it return the hello all. Whatever the other functions or whatever the things which is going to call this particular function, greet function, it is going to pass the hello all message to the call function. Understanding, right, everyone? A fruitful function is one. There are two types of functions, return values are there. Fruitful function is one that produces a result. If the one which is not producing a result, it is non-fruitful function. We can say like that. The return statement ends the execution and send back the result to the call function. Multiple parameters and arguments. We'll see the couple of examples for multiple parameters and multiple arguments today. We can pass you can try to remember as of now, we can pass the multiple arguments as well as the multiple parameters to the function. Defining a function, the set of rules are there for defining a function. Always the function name start with the def and whatever the any input parameter or argument should be placed within this parameter. These are parentheses are there, right? You need to place it in the parentheses. The first statement is the documented statement. Why we need to write the brief discussion about that particular function. We need to write the documentation for that particular function. And the code block within every function start with the colon symbol. The definition end you can say like this also. The definition of the function end with a colon symbol. Okay. Pass by value, pass by reference. We already gave the example for pass by value, pass by reference, right? Printout is a pass by value and web page URL is a pass by reference. We already say, right? Like pass by value means the value in the called function it got changed. The calling function is also going to get not going to get affected. But in case of pass by reference, both the places it is going to get affected. In both the ways it is going to affect. But in pass by value, there are two independent values, two independent variables. If one got changed, other are not going to get changed. But if in case of pass by reference, one got changed, other is going to get affected because of one place change. So now till now we discussed in the last class. Now I'm going to discuss about function overloading. I'm going to discuss about function overloading. In the function overloading, first of all, what is a function? Function is, we already discussed about what is a function. Now I can overload the function or not. If it is there in Python, the function overloading is there or not, it's already there or not, we'll see. And if it is there, and how we can overload. If it is not there, what is the problem is there, why we can't able to overload. First we'll discuss about what is a overloading. And you need to remember one point. What is the meaning of English words? Overloading. Definitely it is going to applicable for the programming language as well. Overloading means, like for example, if for the function with one name, then in the function with other same function name, I'll see. Okay, the examples also there. Okay, try to see here. Defining stack overflow, and we will going to pass the one argument over here. The defining the same function name. Here also they have same function. Here also the same function name. But there are here two parameters. Here two parameters. The function name with the function name is same. The parameters which are passing to those function name is going to get different. Then that is called the function overloading. Now you got to know, right, what is a function overloading? The function name is same. The parameters we are passing to that particular function name is the difference in the function name. What are the number of arguments we are passing to that particular function might be different. That is function overloading. That is called function overloading. Now everyone got to know, right? I am going to repeat once again with the practical example. Here, if you observe in this particular example, this is the DEF, means definition of the particular function is start. The name of the function name is Stack Overflow. The name of the function is Stack Overflow, and we are passing the one of the parameter to this particular function. And in the same class, we'll discuss about class later. What is a class and why we need to talk, why we need to place it in the class. Whenever we are discussing about the object-oriented programming language, that time we will discuss about class. As of now, try to understand. Those people who know C programming language or C++ programming language, they might be, you might be understand, right? Here they will pass the char and int. Here they will pass the char, int, one more int. The function name is same, but the arguments or the parameters which are passing to that particular function must be different. Then that is called function overloading. The function name is same. The arguments which are passing to the parameters which are passing to that particular function must be different. Then that is called the function overloading. But in the Python programming language, there is no function overloading mechanism. Now everyone got to know, right, what is the function overloading? The function name is same, we are passing the parameter to that particular function is different. Then that is called function overloading. Function overloading not possible in the Python programming language. Why? If I want to do function overloading, what we need to do? If you want to do function overloading, what we need to do? We'll discuss about those things also in this class session only. As of now, try to understand what is a function overloading. Everyone got to know everyone got to know what is a function overloading, and there is no function overloading mechanism in Python. Unlike C++, a Python function is specified its name alone. We are not supposed to clone. We are not supposed to function overload. The function name must be unique in the Python programming language. The function name must be unique in the Python programming language. The number and order and the number, order, names or type of arguments cannot be used to distinguish between two functions with the same name. We already discussed about this point, right? Same function name is there. We can't be able to differentiate with the order or name or a type of arguments in a Python programming language. Two different functions cannot have the same name even if they have different arguments. Now you saw this point, right? Two different functions cannot have the same name even if they have different arguments. We are not supposed to having the same name in Python programming language. You need to remember this particular point. Again, whenever you are discussing about object-oriented programming language, we will discuss about the function overloading. As of now, try to remember two different functions cannot have the same name even if they have different arguments. But it is going to be possible in the C++ programming language. The C++ programming language, function overloading is there. Function overloading means what? The function name is same, but the arguments we are passing to that particular function is different. Now you will see the example. Class def stack overflow, and we are passing the one argument, one parameter, and here two parameters. Now I am trying to call this particular function. Now what happened? I created an object. Now as of now, I try to forget about the object, what is the object and what is a class. We'll discuss about an object, what is a object and what is a class in the object-oriented programming language in Python programming language. Now it will throw, why? Because it will throw some error. Stack Overflow takes exactly 2 arguments. One is given. One is given means there are two functions are there with the same name. Now we'll see one real-time example for this one. Now out of this function overloading concept, what you understand till now? Function overloading means what? The function having the same name with the different parameters or different arguments. Then that is called the function overloading. The function overloading not possible in the Python programming language. Now we'll see about function arguments. How we need to pass the arguments. How many ways are available in Python programming language? How many ways you can pass the arguments to the defining a function? So there are 4 ways we can pass the arguments to the argument to the function. What are those 4 ways? What are those 4 ways? Required arguments. Second one is the keyword arguments. Third one is the default arguments. Fourth one is the variable length arguments or arbitrary arguments, whatever the things are there. There are 4 types of arguments are there. One is required argument, keyword arguments, default arguments, and fourth one is the variable length argument. Understanding, right? Now we'll discuss about each and every argument, how we can pass the arguments, and how we can pass the arguments, and we'll see the one example on each type. Required arguments are the arguments passed to a function in a correct positional order. Correct positional order means if I define one particular function with the n number of parameters or n number of arguments, you need to pass the arguments in the correct positional order. Hence the number of arguments in that functional call should match exactly with the function definition. Means if I see in the previous example, here I pass the 2 parameters, I need to pass the 2 arguments to this particular function. So I need to pass in the correct way. Then only it is going to get compiled and executed properly. To call the function printf, print time, you definitely need to pass 1 argument, otherwise it give a syntax error, which is shown in the below example. We'll see the one of the example over here. In this particular example, we are discussing about the required arguments. Out of these required arguments, what we need to do? Required arguments are arguments passed to a function in a correct positional order. If you see this particular example, then we'll get to know. Example of the required arguments. I define one particular function. The function name is the print me, and we are passing the one string over there is the parameter for to this particular function. Pass string in the function. I just print and I give the str. I pass this parameter over here and I'm just returning this one. I'm just calling this particular function. What's going to happen? Just we'll see the real-time example. Then only you'll get to know what is this required arguments and how we can pass. Here, everyone try to see. Everyone able to see my desktop, right, properly? Everyone able to see my desktop properly, right? So the font size and everything is fine, right, to everyone? The font size and everything is fine, right, to everyone? Now we'll see this particular example. The function def followed by the function name, and I pass the parameter to this particular function. And I'm just printing this particular parameter over here, and then just calling that particular function. Here I'm calling, but here the one parameter is there, but here there is no parameter over here. I'm not passing any argument over here. So what's going to happen? If I run this particular program, what's going to happen? We'll try to see. See what's going to happen. Trace back, most recent call last, and line number 10 in module print me. I got the error over here. the compiler not able to understand what this particular line is going to do, so it throws some error. What is that particular error? Print me takes exactly one argument. So the definition of that particular function name, the definition of that particular print me function, it need to take one argument over there. Until unless you are not passing the argument, you are not supposed to call that particular function. So it throws some error. Now we will try to see. Here I will pass the hello all. Hello all. Welcome to the hello all. Welcome to the session. What it gave? I pass. Here, if you observe, I pass one of the string to this particular print me function. Now everyone got to know, right? What is the required argument means, and if I am not passing the arguments to that particular function, what will happen? It means, see, for example, here two arguments are there. Here two arguments are there. You already seen in the previous class, you already seen, right? I can pass the multiple parameters and as well as the multiple arguments to that particular function. Here I am passing the single function. I pass the single parameter to this particular function. So I pass the one argument to this. Is called whole is called the one of the argument I am passing to this particular function. Whenever I give the print and str, it is going to print that particular function. And one more thing, you need to remember one point. The function definition, if you write the function definition, means it is not going to do anything until unless you are not going to call that particular function. Understanding, right? It is just one of the block. If you need that particular block, then only you need to call. If you are not going to call, that is not going to get executed. Understanding, right, everyone? Now you got to know, right, what is the requirement arguments now? If I am not going to pass any argument over here, it will throw some error. If I pass the argument over here, then it will print the value which I passed. Understanding, right? It will throw error. It is giving exactly what is the error also. Take exactly one argument. So after reading this particular statement, I changed and I executed. So it will give the proper output, whatever the arguments I passed to this particular function. Whenever I call the print built-in function. Everyone got to know, right? Everyone got to know, right? What is the requirement argument? See, today we are going to take one of the, see, every day we are what we are doing every day. Just I'm just starting the session and I'm closing the session. Today one more fun activity is also there from my side. From all the colleges who are all joining in the for Python session. I'm in the end of this particular session, I'm going to ask the multiple choice questions. And I'm going to check which college is going to answer first. So be careful, please focusing on the session. By end of the session, I'm going to ask the multiple choice questions. I prepared the multiple choice questions as well, only on Python. Whichever college is going to answer first, then we will see. Now everyone got to know, right, what is the required argument. Then we will move on to the next type of argument is keyword arguments. This is also important one. Keyword arguments are related to the function calls. Keyword arguments are related to the function calls. When you use the keyword arguments in a function call, the caller identifies the arguments. whichever calling to that particular function, it identifies the arguments by the parameter name. How can I identify the arguments? By the parameter name, we can identify the arguments. This allow you to skip arguments or place them out of order, because the Python interpreter is able to use the keyword provided to match the values with the parameters. We'll see one of the example for the keyword argument as well. You can also make keyword calls to the printb function is the following ways. Now we can see one of the example, then we can understand what is a keyword arguments and why we need to use the keyword arguments, and how we can pass the arguments to the parameters by using the keyword arguments. Now if you try to see this particular printb string, now this print here passing a string to the function. Now I can explicitly write if I am not going to write this particular str equal to and followed by the my string also, if I am not going to write this one also, it is going to get executed. But I am just passing the arguments in a proper way. Proper means, for example, here there are two arguments, two parameters are there. Let us assume if I check whether the example is there with me or not, I will try to see. Open a file. If you try to see here, only one argument is there. If more than one argument is here, then what we need to do? Here you can pass n number of ways, whether it is this way or it is going to be in different way. Here, for example, try to see my string. So if you want to write here one more parameter over here, what we need to write? We can write one more parameter, string or name. It is up to you. You can write the string first over here, then you can write the one more function over here. So you can shuffle if you use the keyword argument, we can shuffle the values also. If you use the keyword argument, you can shuffle the values also. But whoever calling that particular function, he must be know which function I am calling first. That particular caller must be know which function, which way we need to call first. Whether I need to call this particular string first or whether I need to call the name first. Based on this one, we can pass the value over here. Explicitly, I am writing the parameter name and I am passing the argument to that particular function. That is the keyword argument. Now everyone understand, right? What is a keyword argument? This is the parameter. I am explicitly passing the parameter and by using the assignment operator, I am assigning the value to this particular. I am passing the argument to this particular parameter. I am passing the argument to this particular parameter. What is the use of this particular one? And I can shuffle the values also. For example, here string and name and age, I can write n number of parameters over here, right? Based on the parameter, I can pass the argument to that particular parameters. Now we'll see this example. Now by seeing this example, then you will get to know. You will get some clear idea about what. And print info is a function name, and I'm passing the two parameters to this particular function, and I'm just printing the name and I'm printing the age, and I'm calling the return function over here. Now here the first parameter is name and the second parameter is age. But whenever I'm calling this particular function, I gave the name first, age first, and followed by the name. And but here I called in the proper way. First I'm just printing the name and then followed by the age. This means if you the shuffling the parameters and passing the argument to those parameters, it can be changed if you use the keyword arguments. Now everyone understand, right? Everyone understand, right? Everyone. And third one is the default arguments. Third one is the default argument. Now third one is the default argument. It is the solution of function overloading is not present in Python programming language, right? We can reuse the arguments or default arguments. Now I'll discuss about briefly about how can you achieve the function overloading by using the default arguments. We'll see in the later slides. As of now, I'm going to talk about the default arguments. A default argument is an argument that assumes a default value if a value is not provided in the function call for that argument. See, if I provided the value, see here I'm providing the value over here. The age is 50 and the name is the Mickey. If I'm not going to provide the value age is 50 and the name equal to the name age equal to 50 and the name equal to Mickey, then it will take the default value whenever you are defining that particular function with the parameter and the default argument to that particular function. Till now what I have done? I pass the only parameter. I'm not providing the default argument to this particular parameter. So in the default argument situation, then what I have done, I defined the name and a message, define the two parameters. With one parameter, I am passing the default argument value, the message, and the value of the messages or the argument I passed to the particular parameter message is good morning. Any number of arguments in a function can have a default value. But once we have a default argument, all the arguments to its right. See here, if you observe this particular definition, after this particular function, I'm not supposed to write the, we'll see the one of the example for default arguments. We'll see the one of the example for the default arguments. See, I'm just passing the name and age equal to 30. There are two parameters are there. I'm just passing the value I'm assigning the default value or default argument to this particular age function. So in the first case, I gave the, see, we'll forget about the first case. I'll give it this way. Now I'll try to run this particular program. So what's going to happen? If you observe this particular output, what's going to happen? See, if you see this one, I define one particular function. The function name is a print info, and I'm passing the two parameter to this particular function. First one is the name, and second one is the age. For age, I pass the default argument to this particular age function. The value of age is 35. And one more thing is, and I'm just printing the name and age over here. I'm just returning the function. Here, I'm just calling the print info function. I'm just assigning the value to only one of the parameter. I'm just passing the only one of the parameter. Now everyone try to observe. Here I'm assigning the value to this particular function. Then only it gave the name and age value. See, if I'm not going to pass the value to this particular function, try to see everyone. Now everyone try to guess. Now what's going to happen? If I run this particular function, what's going to happen? It will throw any error or it will run smoothly. Try to analyze yourself. If you understand my previous class, whatever I discussed so far, if you understand my class, definitely you are able to answer my query. If I run this particular program, what's going to happen? It will throw an error. It will throw an error. What's happened? What is that error? Takes the print info takes the exactly two arguments. Print info, this particular specific function is take the exactly two arguments. We gave, one is given. They explicitly mentioned, they clearly gave the solution to. That's why whenever you are defining any compiler, you need to understand all the possibility ways. All the possibility ways. Now reading this particular error message only, I got to know. Tell me, if I pass one more value over here, it's going to become what? What's going to happen here? It is going to become the keyword argument, right? It is going to become the keyword argument, right? So now what's going to happen? It will take the defaulter. Now you need to remember one more point here. Now I pass the age equal to 50, and here it is defined the default value is there. But again I reassign the age value is equal to 50 and name equal to Mickey only. So now what's going to happen? Now the value is going to take from here or the value is going to take from here. Now try to see. Now try to see here. It will override the value which is already assigned as the default value. It is override the value. See now, okay, I'll try to show you. See here, what's going to happen? The age value is 50. The age value is 50. Means I already assigned a default value is 23, but after whenever I am calling the print info function age also, and I am assigning I am passing the value to, I am passing the argument to name and as well as age. So what's going to happen? It will override the value which is already passed by the default. It is passed as a default. If I am not going to pass the value to age, what's going to happen? It will take the default value. If I pass the value, it is take the whatever the value I passed in the function. Understanding, right? What is that? Now what is a default argument? Now everyone understand, right? Please be careful. I'm going to ask the questions by end of this class. Default argument. I'm just passing the default argument over here. Now we'll see the variable length argument. It is very important and very useful to the Python programming language. Whenever I define a function, I might not know how many parameters or how many arguments I need to pass that particular function. So I want to change some over the time, so I can use the variable length arguments. I'll use the variable length arguments. You may need to process a function for more arguments than you specified while defining the function. Whenever you are defining a function, that time you might not know how many arguments I need to pass this particular function. You may need to process a function for more arguments than you specified while distinguish the function. These arguments are called variable length arguments and are not named in the defining a function, unlike required and default arguments. These arguments are called variable length arguments and are not named in the function definition. Those function definition we are not going to specify. So this particular function you might not be specified. So we will see one of the example, then you will get to know what is the variable length variable arguments, the tuple remain empty if no additional parameters or no additional PPTs in some other system. Now I'm just copying those system to this system. That's why some indentation problems are there. That is the only one reason. I used to prepare in proper way only. Oh, all asterisk is placed before the variable name that holds the value of the all non-key variable argument. This tuple remains empty if no additional arguments are specified during the function call. See, if I am passing the additional arguments, then it will take. If there is no additional arguments, then the list is empty only. Means whatever the required arguments, it won't take the additional arguments. It will take the normal arguments only. So understanding, right? If it is there, it will take. If it is not there, the additional list is going to be, the tuple remains the empty only. By seeing one of the example, definitely we'll get to know. Now we'll try to see the one of the example for this particular everyone try to see here. I'm just passing the one of the argument to this particular function, and I'm just giving the asterisk followed by the. Now after seeing this one only, I get to know this is a variable length argument function. Now I just forgot about the print statement. This one I called one of the argument for this particular function, and I'm looping this particular function. If a var in var tuple, then print var. Means I'm just looping this one. How many number of arguments passing till that one, and it need to loop. So if I pass this particular 10 to this particular print info, how many times it is going to loop? Only one time. In the second case, how many times it is going to loop? Why? Because I'm passing the three values to three arguments to the print info function. I'm passing the three arguments to the print info function. That time it will loop the three times. But if I pass the only one argument to the function, it is going to loop the only one time. So based on the situation, see in the first function, what's going to happen? Okay, we'll comment this particular line, and I'll try to run this particular function, particular program. Now what's going to happen? The output is 10 only. If you observe this particular program, I'm just passing the only one value to this particular function. Now my intention is I want to pass the n number of arguments to this particular function. So I'm just passing this one. I'm just looping that particular function. Now what's going to happen? It got what happened? Called 3 times, and it will take the 3 arguments instead of 1 argument. It took the 3 arguments. I can pass like this way n number of arguments. So what is the suitable best example for this one? I don't know how many customers are going to come in this particular day, so I'll go for the variable length arguments. So most of the time you are supposed to use the variable length arguments instead of remaining arguments, and we need to use the default arguments as well. Why? Because if I'm not going to pass any value to that particular function, it will take it as the default value. Understanding, right? So if I'm not going to pass any, it will take the default argument. If you're not providing the default value to that particular function, it will throw an error, and we are supposed to pass the n number so and so arguments or n number of arguments to that particular function. It will throw error like this way. Understanding, right, everyone? Everyone understanding, right? Now Now everyone is clear, right? Everyone is clear, right? Everyone is clear, right? The remaining 4 arguments, 4 type of arguments. One is the keyword argument, one is the default argument, one is the require argument, fourth and final one is the variable length arguments. Now everyone is clear, right, about these 4 arguments. Now then I move on to the one of the important function in not only in Python, in some other programming languages also, recursion. This is the mathematical definition of recursion. Mathematical definition and programming language definition is also same for the recursion. Recursion is the process of defining something in terms of itself. It is calling itself. Calling itself. The real world example which would be the place 2 parallel mirrors facing each other, and just keeping the parallel mirrors face to face parallelly I need to place, and any object in between them would be reflecting recursively. Might be I may or may not give this particular example. Whenever you went to the salon in the small villages, they will give the mirror from a front side and a back side. You can able to see the back of your head also in that particular mirror. So any object in between these would be the reflecting recursively. In Python, a function can call other function. See, in not only in Python, in other programming language also, we can call other functions as well. One function call another function. Why? Because one small function means it is a specific task. After completion of the specific task, I might be used for some other task as well. That particular specific task is output to the input to the other function input. So one function call the another function. In Python, a function call can function can call other function if it is even possible for the function to call itself. The function can call itself. The function name is printp function. It can call same function itself. These type of constructions are termed as a recursive function. The function calling itself is a recursive function. Understanding, right? We'll see one of the example for the recursive functions. So if you try to see this particular example, an example of the recursive function to find the factorial of a number. The best example for the recursion is factorial of the number. Now we'll see the define. The function name is a calc the factorial, and I'm passing the one of the parameter to that particular function, and we'll try to see this is a recursive function to find the. Now everyone try to see what is the meaning of these 3 colons. What is the meaning of these 3 colons? You might have remember my class in the previous classes. If you want to write the comments in more than one line, you need to go for the three colons. You remember, right, everyone? Everyone remember, right? If I want to write the comments more than one line, need to go for the 3 colons. Now I am assigning I'm just checking the if x equal to 1, then return 1. Else return x into and calc and factorial x minus 1. And I am initializing the value of the number equal to 4 and the value of the number equal to 4, and I am trying to see the 1, then it fine. If x is equal to not x, I'm calling the, and means I'm calling recursively. So now tell me anyone, what is the output of this particular function? The factorial of sum is calc underscore factorial and number. I'm passing the number to that particular function. What is the value of this particular program? What is the output of this particular program? What is the output of this particular program? And how many times it is going to get loop? The value of this particular function, that is the output is 24. Don't get confused and don't get tension. and we'll see what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of recursive function. Recursive function makes the code look clean and elegant. And just calling inside the function means it is more easy. Easy means not in terms of the logic. In terms of the lines of the code is easy. A complex task can be broken down into the similar sub-problem using the recursion. If it is a large number of tasks or if it is a complex, it is a difficult task, then we can break down into the smaller sub-problems using the recursive function. So sequence generation is easier with the recursive than using some nested iteration. Sequence means like a sequence. Might remember, right? Nested for loop means one for loop is inside the for loop, one more for loop. That is means if condition is there, one more if condition. That is the nested things, right? So instead of writing inside, you can write the sequence way. No, disadvantage is also there by using the recursive function. Definitely, most of the headache coming to picture whenever you are debugging the code. Most of the problem will come into picture whenever you are debugging the code. Whenever you are calling the recursive, we don't know exactly what is the value of that particular function. So I'll share one other real-time example of mine. We use the recursive function for one of the specific tasks. It need to loop 11 times for that particular recursive function. But after completion of the 5th iteration, it is going to throw some error. But I don't know where exactly it is going to getting the error. So it took for me 2 days for debugging. Definitely, we exactly don't know what's going to happen. Definitely, it will take very. Now, I'm not saying not use the recursive function. It is effective way of writing the program. But whenever you are debugging, definitely it is going to become a headache. Sometimes the logic behind recursive is a hard followed through. Definitely, the logic is it might understand, might not understand. Recursive calls are expensive. Take a lot of memory and time. Means the function calling itself means definitely it will take a lot of time, but it is fine also. But the real problem is coming to picture whenever I am talking about the debugging only. Recursive functions are hard to debug. Definitely, surely. I'm the best example for that one. Definitely. Okay. Even if it is a simple also. But we don't know what value is passing and when exactly the problem is arising. Definitely it is going to become the very headache to debug. The one more important point, the one more important topic which is not present in C++, which is not present in Java, that is called the anonymous block. It is there in the Oracle PL/SQL. When the 2 types of functions are there, named block and named functions and anonymous functions. You might have remember the lambda functions, right? When you remember this particular function, that time I skipped, right? Whenever I'm talking about the function, I will explain about these functions, right? When is that one? When we talk about the list comparisons, right? That time there are 3 functions we are about to discuss. First one is the lambda functions, second one is the filter function, third and final one is the map function. You might have remember, right? Whenever we discuss about the functions, we will discuss about these functions. Why? Because unless the function concept is not over, you are not able to understand if you discuss about these 3 functions. Now, anonymous means the function having no name. The function which is having the no name, then that is called the anonymous function. In Python, anonymous function is a function that is defined without a name. The function without name, that is called the anonymous. While normal functions are defined using the def keyword, in Python anonymous functions are defined using the lambda keyword. The difference between these two is if it is a named function, if it is a normal function, the definition of that particular function start with the keyword is the definition. The keyword in the Python is def followed by the function name, the followed by the parenthesis. You can pass the parameters or arguments to that particular function. But in case of anonymous functions, there is the function which is start with the lambda keyword. The lambda keyword. There are the lambda function, and anonymous functions are also called the lambda functions. Anonymous functions are called the lambda functions also. The syntax of lambda functions is anonymous functions is lambda followed by the arguments. Means there is no def, there is no function name. Just we need to pass the lambda followed by the arguments, and you can pass the n number of arguments, but the expression must be the expression is the single only. The expression is a single only. The lambda functions can have any number of arguments, but only one expressions. You can pass the n number of arguments, but the expression must be single only. Understanding it? They cannot contain commands or multiple expressions. They cannot contain the commands as well as the multiple arguments. Now we'll see the examples for lambda function. We'll see the example for the lambda functions, and we'll see the example for the lambda functions. I will check. Functions. Now everyone got to narrate what is a lambda function definition. Then we'll see one other example for lambda function. An anonymous function cannot be direct call to print because lambda requires an expression. Why? Because lambda function, if anonymous function cannot be a direct call. Why? Because if the name is there, then I will call the person. If I know the name, then I will call by the name. If the person don't have any name, how can I call that particular function? So call to print because lambda required an expression. Lambda functions have their own local namespace and cannot access variable other than this in their parameter list, and those in a global namespace. Now what is a global and what is a local also we are going to discuss now. And as of now, try to forget about the global and local. Now we'll try to see what one of the example for the lambda functions over here. Double is the variable. This is the lambda is the anonymous block, and this is a one of the argument, one of the parameter we are passing to the this particular lambda, and this is the x. This one is the expression. Now everyone got to know, right? The anonymous blocks or lambda blocks, we need to pass the argument that is start with the lambda and followed by the arguments, and we need to pass the one of the expression only. We are not supposed to pass the more than one expression. Now we can call the print double of 5. What's going to do? It will pass the 5 over here. 5 into 2. The output of this particular program is 10. Why? Because I pass the one of the arguments over here, and the argument, and it will replace with the parameter this one, and I will calculate the expression. I will execute this particular expression. 5 into 2, 10. In the above program, lambda x colon is the lambda function. Here x is the argument and x into 2 is the expression that get evaluated and written. Now everyone got to know, right? This one is the variable and this is the functions, or this is the function, lambda function, which is passing to assigning to this particular variable, and we are passing the argument to this particular parameter. The expression got evaluated and it will give the output as 10. Now when we need to use these functions, when we need to use this particular lambda function. When we require a nameless functions for a short period of time. When you require a short period of time, then we'll use the nameless function. Now, lambda functions are used along with the built-in functions like a filter, map, and etc. These are the built-in functions. Filter and map are the built-in functions. Now we'll discuss about the one examples on filter and map. Now everyone understand, right? What is a lambda functions? Whenever I want to use the functions with the no name, then I will go for the lambda functions. And in the lambda function structure, how it is going to become? The lambda function structure is the lambda keyword and followed by the n number of arguments 1 to n and followed by the only one expression. When we need to use those expressions, the function which I don't want to name as well as the short period of time, then I will go for the lambda functions. Now lambda functions example. Now try to see one more example on lambda functions. Sum equal to lambda argument 1 and argument 2. I pass the two arguments and the expression is the argument 1 plus the argument 2. Now I'm just calculating the value of this particular function. What is the value of that? First I pass the 10 to the argument 1 and 20 to the argument 2 and just add these two arguments. Then the sum of these two arguments is the 30. And in the second case, I pass the two argument 10 plus 20 plus 20 and I pass this one. I'll get the value is 40. Now everyone got to know, right? What is the use of the lambda functions? Whenever I want a short period of time, then I will go for the lambda functions instead of the normal functions. Understanding, right, everyone? Now then I will discuss about one of the function is the filter. Why we need to use the filter? What is a filter? Why we need to use the filter? What is a filter and why we need to use the filter? Built-in function, right? Filter and map is the built-in function. Those are built-in functions. Now, in the name itself, it is there. Filtering the list or filtering the given arguments. The filter function in Python take a function and a list as a argument. Is the argument. The function is called when the function is called with all the items in the list, and a new list is required which contain items for which the function evaluated is true. If the function is true, the value is going to return. If the function is false, the value is not going to return. But if you use the filters, example of filter function is to filter out only even numbers from a given list. For example, if you try to see this particular example which is mentioned in this particular PPT, first example is if I took the one of the value, if you see this one here, the filter function, what are the inputs over here? Python takes is a function and a list as an argument. This is list as an argument and this is a function. Now what's going to happen? New list equal to list of filter. Now it starts with the lambda function. Lambda, one of the argument is x, colon, followed by a expression. And followed by expression, I'm returning a my list. After completion execution of this particular expression, what's going to return? 2 this is a 2 no, this is the output of this particular function. Now everyone try to see. Now first of all, what it will do, it will calculate this one, and if it equal to 0, then it equal to 0 means what? The expression is going to evaluate it to true. Then it will return the value. 1 1% is 2. So that is not true. So it is not going to print. 5% is 2. It is not going to true. It will not print anything. 4% is 2. Definitely it is going to become true. And the output is a 4. 4, 6, 8, 12. See, this is the output of, it is the filtering the value. Filtering the given value. Or filtering the given list of arguments. And it will throw an output as a, if the condition make as a true. Understanding, right? What is a filter function? What filter function do? Everyone understand, right? The filter function in Python take as a function and a list of arguments. List as argument. The function is called with all the items in the list, and a new list is required which contain items for which the function is evaluated true. Means if the condition is true, then it will display as a output. It will print the new list. Understanding, right? In case of map function, it will take it as everything. It will take it as everything. It will process each and every items which is present in that particular list. Here, if the expression is evaluated true, then it will print. Here, each and every element in the, if each and every argument in that particular list is going to get processed and it is going to display the output. If you try to see here, map, here, previously, it is a filter over here. And followed by the expression, then I'm printing the value. So each and every element in this particular list is going to be multiple by this particular expression is true. 1 into 2, 5 into 2, 4 into 2, 6 into 2. Like this way it is going to get evaluated. The map function in Python takes as a input. The map function in Python takes in a function and a list. Previously also it takes as a function and as a list. But in case of map, what's going to happen? The function is called with all the items. Previously what happened? All the items, but if it is a true, then only it will come as output. If it is not true, we are not supposed to process. So all the items in the list and new list is written which contain items required by that function for each item. It is a each item. For example, use a map function to double all the items in a list. We are going to double. The best example is this is a funny way, but take it as positive. 50% discount in the shopping malls. Night itself they will change the rate and they will display like this way. So double the value. They are double the rates and they will give it as a 50% discount. Take it as a funny way, but try to understand in this way. These might be a requirement also. So whatever the values which are present in this particular list is a, there are double that particular list and there are printing the value. Now see, if it is a 1, then make it as a 2. 5 into 2, 10. 4 into 2, 6 into 2. All the items which are present in the list, it got evaluated and it displays as output. Now everyone got to know, right? These three functions, lambda functions and map function and filter function. Filter function means filtering the data, evaluated the expression. If it is true, then it will process. But in the map function, it will what are the list which is present in that particular list, it is going to evaluate it and it will process the output. Now return statement, we already discussed about return statement in the previous slides, so I'm just skipping this slide. Now scope of the variable, this is also one of the important topic. All variables in a program may not be accessible at all the locations in this program. The scope of the variable, definitely the scope is going to get present. Why? Because you need to effectively utilize the memory and we can go for the local variables as well as the global variables. In other programming, some other variables are also there. The dependence on where we have to declare a variable. Based on the where you declare that particular variable, definitely the scope is going to get present. The scope of the variables determine the portion of the program where you can access a particular identifier. There are two basic scopes of variables in Python. One is global variable, second one is the local variable. Second one is the local variable. Now we'll see one example on each and every variable type: global variable and local variable. Global variables. Global variables are that are defined and declared outside of a function, and now we need to use them inside a function. If you want to use the inside function, the entire program, global variables means the scope of that particular variable is applicable for the entire program. For example, 1000 lines of program is there. If it is a global variable, you can use in any one of the place. Define the session, this particular session, print welcome message, welcome equal to welcome to the session, and I'm just calling this particular session. Means the scope of this particular variable is entire function. So inside the function I call the welcome variable. So it means it is going to take the value from here and it is going to get print and it will return an output. Why? Because the scope of this particular global variable is applicable to the entire program. Understanding, right? What is a global variable? What is a global variable? Everyone understand, right? What is a global variable? Everyone understand, right? Variable which we can able to access the entire program, then that is called the global variable. Now local variable. Local variables are the one that are defined and declared inside a function, and we need to use them inside a function only. I'm not supposed to access the local variables outside the function. See, welcome method I written here and as well as the here. Here I written the welcome function. Here also we written the welcome function. If I call the welcome function over here, the value is going to become a this one. The value is not going to become a this one. Understanding, right? The scope of this particular variable become the inside a function only. If I come outside of the function, I'm not able to access that particular variable. Why? Because the scope of that particular variable is applicable to the inside the function only. If you try to see, observe this one here, the variable name of inside the function is same as the outside also. So that time what is happen? It is going to take also, but if I call the print welcome message here, it will take the inside a function. Inside a value only it will take. It won't take the outside value. Understanding, right, everyone? Local variable and global. We'll see the what is the difference between these variables. We'll see the what is the difference between these variables, and if I want to use this variable, what we need to do, we'll discuss about these things also. The variable welcome is defined as the string welcome to the Python session before we call the function name. See here, I write like this way, defining a function, and before definition of or before assigning a value to this local variable, I called the welcome message. I called the welcome message here, and again once I assign the value over here, again I'll call the welcome message over here, and I assign a welcome message to here, and I call the print statement, and I call this particular function. If I take the example, then only you will understand. I write the def followed by the session, def followed by the session, and end with the colon, and try to see print welcome. I write the print welcome statement here. Then I assign the value to welcome hello all. Write the hello all, and again I print the welcome over here. Then I come out of the loop and I'll write the welcome over here. Then I will write the hello all good morning, good morning. Then what I will do, I'll call the function over here, and again I print the welcome message. Now what's going to happen? Why? Because before assigning a value to here, then I'm calling this one. Now anyone tell me, those person who knows, okay, might be you are not able to reply, right? It will throw an error or not? It will throw an error or not? Local variable welcome refer to assign one or more assignments. So what's happened? This particular statement we are calling before assigning a value to before assigning a value to the local variable. I'm just printing the welcome message. Printing the welcome message. That's why it is throwing an error. That's why it is throwing an error. So if I'm not calling before assigning a value, what's going to happen over here? It will freely call and it will display a message. Hello all. Hello all. Why? Because this is the hello all first message. Second one, print this particular good morning. This particular good morning. Understanding, right? And one more here. Here I'm not assigning any value over here. What's going to happen? We'll see. If I'm not mentioning any local variable in that function, by default it is going to take a global variable only. If you assign a value in the local, first it will check the local variable scope, then it will see the global variable. So that's why it will throw an error. See here I define, so it will try to see over here. That's why before assigning the value and just printing the value, that's why it will throw an error. If it call like this, definitely it will throw an error. Why? Because before assigning a value, I'm just calling this particular function. If I comment these two lines, there is no local variable related to welcome. That's why it will take both of them as a global scope only. It will take as a global. Now everyone understand, right? The scope of the variable. Definitely the scope of the variable is also very, very important. The scope of the variable is also very, very important. So the solution for this particular problem is, we need to write the global and followed by the name. If we write the global and followed by the name, it will here, if I want to use the, first of all, if I want to use, then I will write the here global followed by the welcome message here. So it will throw output good morning. See here, what is the global welcome is, what is the value which is present in this particular first printf welcome is good morning. Why? Because the scope of this particular one is a the scope of this particular one is a the scope of this particular one is a global, not a local. Try to understand the function, the variable which are declared inside the function, that is called the local variable. The function which is written outside the variables which is written outside the function, that is called the global variables. The scope of the local variables are inside the function only. The scope of the global variable is the entire programming language, entire program. I'm repeating again. Final time I'm repeating again. The scope of the local variable is inside the function only. The scope of the global variable entire the program only. If I want to, if local variables, I'm not supposed to access the outside the function. Global variables I can access anywhere in the program. So that's all from my side. If anyone having